I was 31 when I learned that loneliness can exist inside a marriage. From the outside, my life looked stable. I had a husband, a 4-year-old son, a comfortable apartment, and enough money for ordinary problems. What I did not have anymore was trust. My husband had spent years quietly killing that. My husband, Min, was not the kind of man neighbors called irresponsible. He worked hard, paid the bills, picked up our son from school, and remembered to buy medicine when I was sick. That was what made everything harder. He was reliable in almost every way except the one that mattered most to me. Min loved attention from women. It began with messages that were too friendly, compliments he tried to hide, and conversations deleted before I could read them. Every time I discovered something, he apologized. Every time, he promised it was over. Every time, several quiet months passed before another woman appeared. I threatened divorce more times than I can remember. Sometimes I packed a bag. Sometimes I called my mother crying. But then our son would run to Min at the door, laughing like his father was the safest place in the world. I would unpack the bag and tell myself one more chance could save us. Eventually, Min and I stopped fighting because fighting required energy we no longer had. We still discussed groceries, school fees, and our son's dentist appointments. We slept in the same bed, but there were nights when the space between our shoulders felt wider than the entire apartment. That was when an old university group became active again. People shared wedding photos, terrible old hairstyles, and jokes about professors we used to hate. Among them was Hui, a classmate who had once liked me. Back then, I barely noticed him. 15 years later, one simple message from him felt strangely warm. Hui did not flirt at first. That was probably why I kept replying. He asked whether my son still loved dinosaurs. He remembered I hated cilantro. He sent me a picture of the campus coffee shop and said the chairs were still uncomfortable. Small things. Harmless things. Things my marriage no longer had. The first time I told Hui about Min, I expected advice. Instead, he listened. No lectures. No dramatic promises. He simply said that being lonely beside someone could hurt more than being lonely alone. I read that sentence 5 times. Then I deleted our chat because I was already afraid of how much it mattered. Deleting the chat did not make me stop thinking about him. The next morning, Hui sent only one message. He said he hoped I was okay. No question mark. No pressure. I answered. After that, we began talking every day, usually after my son fell asleep and Min turned his back to me. I knew the line was moving. At first, we talked about marriage and work. Then we talked about what we missed. Then Hui told me he had never completely forgotten me. I should have stopped there. Instead, I asked what exactly he remembered. That question opened a door I had no business opening. Our first meeting alone happened on a rainy Tuesday. I told Min I was having coffee with old classmates. That was technically true, except there was only one classmate. Hui was waiting by the window. When he smiled at me, I felt something I had not felt in years. I felt noticed. Nothing happened that afternoon. That is what I told myself afterward. We drank coffee. We talked for 3 hours. He touched my hand once when I started crying about Min. I did not pull away. Sometimes betrayal begins long before anyone takes off their clothes. Sometimes it begins when you decide not to move your hand. The second time we met, Hui kissed me in the parking garage. I froze for 1 second, then kissed him back. On the drive home, I cried so hard I had to stop the car. I knew exactly what I had done. The fact that men had hurt me did not make my choice innocent. I tried to end it the next day. Hui agreed too quickly, which hurt more than I expected. Then 3 nights later, after Min came home smiling at another woman's message, I called Hui. I hated myself for how predictable it was. Pain does not automatically make people wise. Sometimes it only makes them hungry for comfort. The affair lasted 3 months. That sentence still sounds ugly because it was ugly. There were hotel rooms, lies about overtime, deleted messages, and mornings when I looked at my son and felt ashamed. There were also moments when I laughed freely for the first time in years. Both things were true. Hui never asked me to leave Min. That should have warned me. Whenever I mentioned divorce, he became vague. He said I needed time. He said my son came first. I interpreted his distance as maturity. Looking back, I was translating his convenience into the language I wanted to hear. Then my period did not come. I blamed stress for a week. When nausea started every morning, I bought a pregnancy test on my lunch break and hid it under vegetables in the shopping bag. I felt ridiculous, as if broccoli could somehow protect me from whatever answer waited inside that box. I took the test while Min was bathing our son in the next room. 2 lines appeared almost immediately. For a few seconds, I could hear my child laughing through the wall while I stared at proof that I had changed all 3 of our lives without asking any of them for permission. I knew the baby could not be Min's. We had not been intimate in months. I sat on the bathroom floor until my legs went numb. Then I did the thing I had imagined Hui would want me to do. I called him and told him we needed to meet immediately. Hui refused to meet. He asked me to tell him over the phone. My hands started shaking before I even spoke. When I said I was pregnant, there was a long silence. I expected fear. Maybe panic. Maybe even anger. Instead, the first thing he asked was whether I was absolutely sure it was his. I told him there was no doubt. His voice changed. The warmth disappeared so completely that I wondered whether I had imagined it for 3 months. He said he could not take responsibility. Then he told me what he thought I should do. End the pregnancy. End the relationship. End all contact. I asked how he could say that after everything between us. Hui gave me the answer that finally removed whatever fantasy remained. He had a girlfriend. Not a new girlfriend. A woman he had been dating for 2 years. Their families were already discussing a wedding. I was not his future. I had been his secret. The irony was so sharp it almost felt physical. I had spent years despising women who accepted attention from married men. Now I discovered I had become the other woman in someone else's relationship. I had run from one man's betrayal and helped another man create the exact same wound. That evening, Hui transferred money to my bank account. Enough for a private clinic and several days off work. His message was short. Please handle this quietly. I stared at the amount for a long time. I had never seen money look so much like a closed door. I returned the money. Not because I had suddenly become morally superior. I had already made enough mistakes to lose that privilege. I returned it because I could not let the biggest decision of my life become a transaction designed to protect Hui's wedding plans. For 3 days, I told no one. I made breakfast for my son. I answered emails at work, I sat across from Min at dinner and listened to him complain about traffic. Every ordinary moment felt unreal because inside me was a secret large enough to destroy our marriage completely. My mother was the first person I told. She did not shout. That was worse. She sat beside me while I cried and asked one question. "What do you want to do?" I said I did not know. She nodded and told me not to make a lifelong decision only because I was terrified of today's consequences. I went to a doctor alone. The pregnancy was just over 5 weeks. When the doctor asked about the father, I could not answer without crying. She did not ask why. She simply explained my options and told me I did not have to decide everything that afternoon. For the first time in days, someone gave me room to breathe. I decided to continue the pregnancy. The decision was mine, not Huey's, not Min's, not my mother's. I was frightened by what it would cost me. I was frightened by what my son would lose. But when I imagined ending the pregnancy only to preserve everyone else's life, I knew I would not survive that choice peacefully. That left Min. For 1 week, I kept rehearsing the confession in my head. Every version ended with shouting, divorce papers, or him taking our son away from me. Fear made silence feel temporary and safe. But silence was the same tool Min had used for years. I could not keep building with it. One night, Min asked if I was sick. I had been vomiting every morning and eating crackers for dinner. I said no too quickly. He stared at me. Then he asked if I was pregnant. My entire body went cold. I looked at the man who had lied to me for years and heard myself begin to lie back. I stopped halfway through the lie. I went to the bedroom, took the clinic paper from my bag, and placed it on the dining table. Min read it once. Then again. He looked at the date. He looked at me. The silence between us was unlike any silence we had ever shared. Min asked one question. "Is it mine?" I said no. He closed his eyes. There was no shouting. No broken glass. He simply sat down. After several seconds, he asked how long. I told him everything. The messages. The meetings. The affair. Huey. The pregnancy. Huey's girlfriend. All of it. When I finished, Min said something I was not prepared for. He said he knew he had hurt me for years, but he never imagined sitting at our table while his wife explained that she was carrying another man's child. I wanted to defend myself. Instead, I said the only honest thing left. I was wrong. I did not tell Min that his behavior made me cheat. It did not. His choices had damaged our marriage, but my affair was still my choice. Saying that out loud hurt because blame had been the language of our marriage for years. That night, neither of us used it to escape responsibility. Min moved into the guest room that night. For several days, we spoke only about our son. Then he asked what I planned to do about the pregnancy. I told him I was keeping the baby. He nodded once. I could see the answer hurt him, but he did not ask me to change it. Our families reacted exactly as badly as I feared. Min's mother called me shameless. My father asked why I had not divorced before cheating. My mother defended me until I told her not to. I had done something wrong. I did not need public humiliation, but I also did not need anyone rewriting me into a victim. The hardest part was our son. He noticed Min sleeping in another room. He noticed me crying. One evening, He asked whether Daddy was angry with Mommy. Min and I looked at each other. Then Min told him adults sometimes hurt each other, but none of it was the child's fault. That was the first kind thing we had said together in weeks. Hui contacted me again after 2 weeks. He said he had panicked. He said maybe we could discuss things calmly. I asked whether his girlfriend knew about me. He did not answer. That silence was enough. I told him never to contact me privately again. If he wanted responsibility, it would have to exist in daylight. I eventually told Hui's girlfriend the truth. Not to punish him. Not to win him. I told her because I knew what it felt like to be the last person in a relationship to know. She did not thank me. She cried, called me disgusting, and hung up. I understood every word. After that, Hui stopped contacting me. Months later, I heard his wedding had been cancelled. I felt no victory. Only sadness for another woman whose future had been broken by a truth she deserved to know earlier. That was when I finally stopped telling myself my affair had been only about loneliness. Min and I began counseling, not to save the marriage but to end it without destroying our son. That distinction mattered. During one session, Min admitted his flirting had never felt serious to him because he always came home. I told him coming home was not the same as protecting what was inside it. In another session, I admitted something equally ugly. Part of me had wanted Hui because being desired made me feel powerful after years of feeling rejected. It was not only comfort. It was also revenge, even if I had never consciously called it that. Saying it aloud made me finally understand myself. We filed for divorce before my pregnancy reached 6 months. Min did not fight me for custody. We agreed our son would spend regular time with both of us. The day we signed the papers, Min looked at my stomach and asked whether I was sure I could handle everything. I said no. I was simply going to do it anyway. Our daughter was born on a quiet Sunday morning. Hui was not there. Min was not in the delivery room either. My mother held my hand. When the nurse placed the baby on my chest, I felt joy and grief arrive together. She had done nothing wrong, yet her existence carried every mistake I had made. Min came to the hospital the next day to bring our son. I was nervous about the meeting. My son climbed onto the bed, looked at his baby sister, and asked whether she could come home with us. Min and I looked at each other. Then Min said softly that she would go home with Mommy. My son asked why Daddy would not come too. For a second, I could not speak. Min answered for both of us. He said Mommy and Daddy would live in different homes, but we would both always be his parents. Our son frowned, accepted the answer, then asked if babies could eat chocolate. Children survive adult disasters differently than adults do. A year later, Min and I were not friends, but we had become better co-parents than we had ever been spouses. Hui never became part of my daughter's life. I stopped waiting for him to become the man I had imagined. Some absences hurt less once you stop calling them unfinished love stories. One evening, Min came to pick up our son. He stood at the door while my daughter slept against my shoulder. He asked whether I was okay. Months earlier, that question would have broken me. This time I said I was learning how to be okay. Min nodded. Somehow, that was enough. I once stayed in a broken marriage because I was afraid my son would lose his family. Then I nearly destroyed myself trying to borrow warmth from another woman's future husband. I cannot rewrite any of it. I can only live differently now. A family does not have to share one roof to become honest again.